You've ruined your life. What?
Introduction to blacksmithing.
Also, we'll be seeing these for the first time together, you and I. I have not seen these yet.
We've coined it this way because introduction to blacksmithing. I guess just if you're really wanting to get into it, you can do it casually, but I guess if you become one of those guys, just be prepared to spend a lot of unreasonable money initially. I'll get into that more later with the equipment section. But yes, a lot of money, a lot of time. And it's a good segue, actually, to the start. So, at the beginning, I started blacksmithing about a little under 2 years ago. I got my start through Nova Labs, and at the start, I was really not great. I guess you start like anyone else, where you're just making simple things like hooks and endless amounts of silverware. You're like, look, it's a fork, guys. It's like, well, it makes my food taste metally. I'm like, well, use it. It's fine.
It's fine. Just ignore the tinny taste in your mouth. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
How long have you been blacksmithing for?
Let's see. I guess it's been a year so far. I did it when I was little, and then I moved into an apartment, and they're like, no, you can't have an open source of flame inside the apartment. That's terrible. And then, I just found Nova Labs and started again, and then did the foolish thing. It ruined my life, and decided to do it forever. I was slowly working on that part.
I've also been blacksmithing for a year. I can make a hook.
You just
make another hook. And I can make an S hook.
Those are very important starts.
Nice.
You just have to come visit us more.
Why don't you visit? No, just kidding. But yeah, so that was the start. The picture on the far left is a school that's close by to the area that we'll recommend a bit later for classes. With this, it's really helpful if you have someone who knows what they're doing. So that's what helped me the most. I got to Nova Labs, and I could have been like tinkering around, kind of getting nowhere for a while. But if you have people there who are like, okay, you need to practice this next, and then this next, it sped things up so much faster. Next slide, please.
Yeah, Dale's class is pretty
So
amazing.
a year later, we went from making like books and things to these projects, which were part of a year-long course. I went and I did blacksmithing school, which Mark is in right now as well. It's out in Waynesboro. It's the only certification program of its kind on the Eastern Coast, and I only say not the whole country because I actually don't really know that much on what's the Western Coast. It's not as relevant, I guess, locality-wise. But yeah, on this, I think the evolution was really fast because of the classes. I think by myself this wouldn't have been possible. On the far left side is my final project at the end where you take everything you've learned and you make something. So that's a door. Eventually, it's not done yet, but the goal was I wanted to do stained glass and have the front and back panels moving so it looked like water or waves. Right now it's in several pieces in my basement, which is totally fine.
Where
that
a
was
lot
on
of
purpose.
projects end up usually.
Yeah. That's great. A lot of that learning process was done through Nova Labs, actually, which you guys have probably just heard a whole bunch about, so I won't go too much more into detail about that. But yeah, like all the resources they had there helped a lot, especially with initial equipment costs. I think unless you have money to throw away, that probably would have done me in pretty quickly at the start, like having to buy your own setup. And actually, I forgive me, I didn't ask, because you're in the program right now too.
Oh.
And so in the middle of it, what's it like learning, I guess, all that stuff?
It's wonderful and amazing and awful and terrible all at the same time. The thing she neglected to mention was that those classes are 10 hours a day for 4 days. And it's like for 4 days straight of 10 hours of standing in front of a flame. It's great, and Dale is amazing. And she's also right that like I've learned more in just 4 days there than I've learned in like a year or something like that. Sorry, microphone. So.
And that's a 4-day weekend once a month?
Yeah, it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and a Monday.
And
Which work does not like. I take this off every month.
And then they come to Nova Labs 2 or 3 times a week.
True.
Or Mark possibly do more than that.
Well, someone's got their own personal forge, which I'm sure we'll get to eventually. But yeah, I still need which is one of the things that Nova Labs helps a lot with, is that I didn't have, a bunch of money to like start, so it's easier to go somewhere and have a place where you've got anvils and forges and like all of the tools you need already. And so that helped a lot too, having a place to go to without having to spend $2,000 or $3,000 just to get started, or even just a little bit, like $500 to get started. You will, yeah. We'll get to your anvil. It's a beautiful anvil, though.
It's a beautiful anvil. And he's right, though, I didn't mention, but with blacksmithing, the key to get good is just repetition and being anal about it. Like, no one's good right away. If you're a person who can chase little details and you don't mind one of those tasks where it's like easy to get into but then hard to master, then it's definitely would be something you would enjoy a lot. Like, yeah, I think we, for instance, did the first month of the program, they make you make 100 J-hooks. And the first one takes you like
30, 40 minutes.
Yeah, 30, 40 minutes. And then by the end they say you need to make 2 in under 10 minutes combined, and they have to match, or you can't move on to the next program. So just do it as, I think I ended up making like well over 100 hooks in the process and it was frustrating because it seemed like this should be so simple. It's just a coat hanger, basically. Like, all it is a little me. But
turns out there's a lot of stuff in that.
Yeah, it's muscle memory. The crew! So
You took pictures of us? How?
I'm going to stand now.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. Mark, he made this thing with this cool lady named Ellen Durkin.
Ellen Durkin is amazing. You should go check her out, too.
She's really good. Yeah, no, this is the community. Which made a huge difference. Like, all these guys are interested, and everyone's kind of on different levels, but everyone helps each other. I didn't actually ask their permission for it, but...
It's our surprise. Yeah, it's fine. You owe us all a beer.
We already have a disclaimer in Note Labs that we can take your photo to use it for anything.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Oh, no.
And this is actually cool. This is when we had a watch party for 2 guys at, there's 2 guys who've been on Forge and Fire
Yes.
at Nova Labs. So when they go up, we have a watch party. This one was for a guy named Gary. So we're all there just hanging out like, yeah.
Gary's the one I mentioned earlier that went up the first round. Yeah. You have a question?
I'm pretty sure this entire time your mic has not been working.
Oh, no.
Right there.
Oh.
Cursed.
Nice. It is loud, nobody can hear you.
I could hear you.
That's nice to know that.
No. Just yell to me, and then I'll relay it. It'll be fine.
It's like nice. Everyone works on something different. So you have like some guys who like to make knives, like these ones. And you have other guys who like to make like artistic and architectural stuff, like Brendan up here, who's stupid good. That's me. And like you get into it more, there's different types. I've been doing this for a long time, never made a knife. For instance, you kind of end up finding the thing that you like between artistic and bladesmith, and then you just keep going deeper. You can cross over, but I think there's a lot already to work with within each one, so if you want to gain like good proficiency at one, sticking with it is helpful. Although everyone wants to buy knives, so maybe that's a poor business decision.
Billionaires like fences, though, so you can make knives, or you can make some billionaire fence once and then never work again. Well, that's not true, I guess. Dale did that, and he's working forever.
That's true.
Oh, yeah.
Our teacher Dale, so he does architectural blacksmithing. He's been doing it for 40 or 50 years, and he'll work on like the houses of the CEOs of Northrop Grumman, or they'll ship them out to the Atlantis and the Bahamas to make gates for them there and do custom work. And these jobs are expensive, but the people he works with have crazy money. Like the Northrop Grumman CEOs, they redid the whole roof, and it took $300K, and they decided they didn't like the colors. They're like, rip it up and do it again. And so like, yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Well, like, sure.
It's the dark iron side of things. You're like, oh, yeah, fuck this $300,000. Like,
Also, so you didn't mention Rob in the bottom right corner.
Oh,
But at Viking Con, one of the main reasons I did was because I could bring the blacksmiths there, because it's a Viking convention. Everyone there was interested in blacksmithing, and it was outdoors. So Rob there, I think he made 21 S-hooks throughout the day. He didn't take a break from blacksmithing at all, because he was doing the demos for people. And the only reason he made 21 is because he ran out of metal. So he went and got more metal, and the next day I believe he made 36, and that includes, well, that's minus the hour and a half at the end of the day where we had to cool the forge off. So yeah, you can get really fast once you learn how to do that, because I could have probably made 8 that day if I would have done it.
You could do it. You just have to do it 1,000 times and it's fine.
Oh yeah, the stuff. So, Jared, the guy at the beginning was like, yeah, it's really annoyingly good. He made this candelabra, and you can't see it first, like, with detail, but every part of this has some twist or some chisel.
Yeah. It
stands taller than me, and he worked on it every day for 2 months, and I carpal tunnel in both hands at the end, and then had to take a break for 3 weeks.
The thing is like 7 feet tall. It's ridiculous. And it's, yeah.
Yeah, so he was the one that made the shield balls for the Viking shield.
Yeah.
Which is why he was able to get it done so fast.
In only 5 hours, yeah.
It's like, yeah, I think that's probably good.
You don't want to talk about
This stuff's pretty cool too. It's not just Brendan's stuff.
Okay, there's other stuff that, like, it's all the cool stuff. But okay, this is, it's a marine knife.
A K-bar?
Thank you. The K-bar.
I don't know where that came from.
With feather Damascus, he made it for his daughter's boyfriend because they've been together a year. So he's like, I make a point when they're together with someone for a while, I make them like a knife, so they know I appreciate them and that I make knives. Oh, and I like this one. This is sweet. So Ken, he made these Damascus rings because he was practicing to be able to make one for his wife for their engagement or their marriage. I believe this is another K-bar picture. Cobra. Yeah, there's kind of more examples of, like, I think it's nice to see different pictures of stuff you can make blacksmithing, so your mind doesn't maybe immediately go to, like, knives, because I think that's, like, the biggest forefront thing. Knives are great, but actually when you make a knife, you do very little blacksmithing, unless you're making Damascus, because you could really just take a piece of steel that's hardened and just put an edge on it. Oh, I have a knife.
The knife makers end up doing a lot of grinding, like at the because their hammer skills aren't super great because they don't hit things a lot, so they end up with a bunch of divots and stuff. So they're like, some of them are pretty good though.
No, totally agree.
Yeah.
I think Patrick said it was like every hour you spent smithing for a knife, you spent 3 hours grinding.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. To hit it and be done with it, then that'd be like, fine, you can just go be a coat rack now, not go grind you for 3 hours.
Where to get classes locally? Do we live in the area? Do most people live in the area?
No.
I'm in Tidewater.
There you go. So,
Okay.
yeah. And we're in Maryland at the moment, so we're technically in Maryland, right? Yeah, okay, good. So the Virginia Institute of Blacksmithing is in Waynesboro, right? And so that one's a little bit of a hike from here, unless you live in Central Virginia. So
They have great classes. We had people in our year-long program who would drive up from Florida to take the class. There was like this old guy who was a farrier and had ridiculous work ethic, and he would start driving at midnight to get there at 10 a.m. to blacksmith for 10 hours and then just crash. And he was like 70, and he got kicked by a horse because he's a farrier, so he's like all hunched over, and here I'm like, oh, I got a little burn on my, I'm so up, and you know.
you're not like that at all. I've seen you burn yourself and keep just like, oh, fine, everything's fine. I'm like, no.
The burn, you
Put
get
the
used
burn
to the
cream on.
burns eventually. I think I've stopped blistering now. So they
You're
just
just
get the
faster now,
skin.
so you get your hand away from it.
Oh yeah, that's it. That's it just hits the skin and then sizzles and then falls off.
There
It's
you go.
like,
It's fine.
it's totally fine. And then we have the Potomac's Blacksmith Guild, which is also local. So they'll do lighter classes, but they are close by. If you want to try it out, or you want to take, if you're willing to, like, go class by class, they're really good at that. They focus more, I think, on knives, I believe. And we have a couple of guys at Nova Labs who go there. One of them's the president there, so that's pretty cool. And they'll do, with guilds and things, those tend to have monthly meetings. And so they tend to be like, here, pay these dues, you can use the space to work. Also, we have a meeting day once a week, once a month. So we kind of get together and it's like social hours, see what everyone's working on. And it's more like a community, I think. That's what you buy into a little bit with that. They do have classes as well. They won't be as arduous or long as the Virginia Institute of Blacksmithing, but they'll definitely give you plenty to get started with and work on. Especially if you're just starting, I might almost recommend, if you just want to try it on a low key, just give it a go, like maybe 2-hour class for $50. Don't quote $50. I'm going to say $50 and someone's going to be like, no,
it's $200. Like,
unrealistic.
Excuse you?
I'd recommend Virginia Institute of Blacksmithing and Nova Labs, because Nova Labs also, since we're a nonprofit, the classes there also run really inexpensive, so you can try it out without a lot of buy-in.
Because you mentioned the burning, I just want to bring up the most important rule in the blacksmith shop, which is to not touch anything unless you know it's cold, because it can still be very hot but look like it's cold.
It's like, what is it, it's like 300 degrees or something, and it's like, it looks like it's cold steel, but it's still like, well, melt your hand off. Yeah. We just presume that everything is hot all the time and still touch it because we're dumb. But,
it's like, oh, lick it.
Dale says that a lot.
Yeah, so me as someone who doesn't spend a lot of time in there, I'm very paranoid about every piece of metal I see.
It's a good attitude to have.
Getting your setup. So what's good for you? I guess we kind of covered a little bit about this throughout already, but let's say you start your own home shop. That cost, the anvil I bought was 400 pounds and it cost $3,000 alone, and that was $600 off its normal price.
That is a very good anvil.
It's
but
a
like,
great
this is like,
anvil. I was
that's
like,
not a
oh.
normal starter anvil. This is Shannon going, yeah. Like, give me that big German anvil.
Give me the biggest anvil.
Uh-huh.
It's because like you can size. It's easier to use a big anvil for a lot of stuff than it is to have to buy a bigger one. I'm like, just give me the biggest one right away, so then I don't have to ever buy an anvil again.
Go. I think you can get a pretty decent sized anvil for like, I don't know, like, I bet you could find one used somewhere for like $100. Probably. You'd have to look really hard, but
that'd be rough.
Yeah, you'd have to try.
One another anvil a couple months later.
Well, it was because, so I needed a beater because my friends wanted to learn blacksmithing and I didn't want to let them loose on the $3,000. Like, you can mess up an anvil. Like, you could, like, so I was like, let me buy this really shitty one. And so they'll get the full experience, and it's not a railroad track. Like, this is, it looks like an anvil. It's got the hole for tools and everything.
Yeah, technically all you need is a piece of like hardened steel or something hardened steel to like hit with. So an anvil can be anything that's like a relatively thick piece of hardened steel. So you
don't have to drop a lot of money. You can also just get a chopped piece, especially if you're just doing knives, just get like a piece of railroad, because that's going to be heat treated, and those are just giveaways, like freebies. A lot of your hand tools are really inexpensive, and you can make a lot of your hand tools, so that cuts down price. Other than that, I feel like if you set up a decent shop, I know, it's just...
No, I was like, no, you're right. Tell us how much your shop costs. Yes.
Oh, gosh. I've put, like, I think close to $10,000 for everything. Like, everything, like the grinder, the like, the torches.
You do have a lot of, like, tools and toys, so... You can do it for a very small amount, but obviously you're not going to have a giant German awesome anvil that's amazing,
awesome,
and I'm going to steal one day, and like a bunch of forges and torches and all that stuff. But you'll just probably have a hammer that you got from Lowe's for $5, and some piece of steel you found from like the railroad track, and you definitely did not take it by you asked for it nicely.
Like, what's it? Harbor Freight.
Yeah,
Harbor
Freight will give you an anvil. It won't last, but
Harbor Freight's got. I would go to Harbor Freight for so many like just hand tools because they're all the same. don't spend $80. No, that's like, don't spend like $200 on a hammer. It's not worth it. Just get one from Harbor Freight or something like that. Or go to Nova Labs.
There you go.
Look at these misty mists. Someone knows the name of these clouds, and I forgot. But that is Mark right there. It's another you picture.
Oh no! Yes.
Boom.
They look very majestic.
So
Yeah,
like
I
the
like
best
it.
picture.
Probably is the best picture.
You see half of the hammers hanging on the wall
It's true.
because there's another rack that's not in the photo. So we've got a large selection. They know the difference between them. I just walk in and go, okay, this one looks like it can hit the way I need it to. I'm going to grab this one.
Yeah, it's a good way to start. And that's also, yeah, like having something like a Nova Labs around. If you can find one, like a makerspace or something like that around you, and they have a blacksmithing or like forge, then you can go in and try all the things out, and you don't have to accidentally go spend $100 on a hammer you didn't need. You can go try the $5 hammer and be like, oh, yeah, this one's fine. I can go to Lowe's and grab this. Yeah.
You don't need to spend $10,000
True.
making your own home shop.
Huh?
I just walk in every once in a while. I think it's, what, $10 for the open office hours?
Yeah, like 10, 15.
Yeah, 10 or
so the way
15.
the blacksmith shop works at Nova Labs is you pay $10 to help chip in for the propane. We've got tons of railroad spikes. What else?
That's true.
What other type of metal do we have?
Railroad spikes, and then we have rebar, but we also have like stock steel that you'd get from mills. So that's like nice, clean, easy to use, and you can use a pretty good amount like each time. So that's covered in the cost too. And it is nice, like you can try out a whole bunch of things, see what kind of hammers you like, see what kind of forge you like. Do you like propane? Do you like coal? Would you prefer a hydraulic press, or do you want a power hammer? Like, it's nice to just give them all like a try. Power hammer? It's like you turn it on and then just like a press squishes and then the other one just beats it really fast.
Like a big robot blacksmith.
It's a big robot blacksmith.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, they're both
That's pretty good.
definitely different, interesting tools to learn how to work because they both have their own like finicky little things. There's a lot of things in blacksmithing that have like their own idiosyncrasies that they're like, oh, those are pretty.
Beginner project suggestions. Well, actually, has anyone tried blacksmithing before? Maybe we should have started. Oh, look, it's Mike.
Perfect. Yeah. But,
A knife from a coil spring.
nice.
Oh, yeah, coil spring's great.
Yeah. The forge master, they called me, said that the steel in the coil springs from the auto shop that was right across the spot is like really good for making like tools and knives and stuff. So we took like a full one and then we cut it with some kind of torch. I don't know what it's called.
Oh, the big green tank and a. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oxyacetylene, maybe?
Yeah.
Or butane?
That sounds right.
Yeah, we cut it in half and then cut off a piece for me, and then he cut off a bigger piece for himself. He was like, okay, well, I'm going to just walk you through it for about an hour and show you how to flatten it and make the points. And then we spent like 2 hours like going over how to properly bevel the thing.
Sure. I hear them talk about that a lot.
It was
Bevel the
it was took about a day to like really make a knife. And I didn't really descale it at the end of it, but it turned out sharp enough to where I can use it on a regular basis.
There you go.
Hey,
Perfect.
it's good to use your
He said that it was the coil spring, the person said he was good for making knives. Josh, another member that was on the Forged in Fire, who actually did an episode when he used the leaf springs off of a, I think, 72 Mercury to build their knives. His professional degree is in like metallurgy. So anytime someone mentions using springs for knives, you get this really long rant about why it's not good.
And then after he's done with that rant, you continue using the coil spring to piss him off. That's the way to go.
Like, it is my goal to make as many knives when I start doing it out of springs, just to annoy him.
Dang, as soon as you said, I feel like half my tools are coil springs. It's free. Another thing, like, little beginner projects, feather hooks. Obviously, we talk about hooks a lot. These are what this look like.
Oh,
This, or
let's see.
maybe without that other smoothie thing. Oh, the flower. Which one? This one or this one? This actually is easier than it looks. You take
really
sheet
good at
steel
picking
and
it
you just cut out a bunch of patterns of like petal layers, like smaller and smaller. You texture it, then you put them all together and grab a torch to like push up the petals, and you're done. If you take it to a shop that laser cuts out the metal for you, then it's really quick. After that, just like have something come down.
Yeah.
Or you can use like a big pair of metal scissors too. You get a good grip
Tin
on
snips,
it.
yeah.
You want to go with the steps?
Oh yeah, the steps. Oh, thank you. The feather hook. Also pictured there, and in person here. Yeah, so we have the classes at Nova Labs, or like beginner class, beginner projects. Nice because they walk you through. It shouldn't be more than like less than a dozen steps, and they'll take you from something like this started as an angle iron, and then we come down here to a feather hook after you've done it like maybe 4 more times. And you didn't burn anything off. It looks intact.
There's a lot of chiseling involved in that, and hammer control. That's a good one to start with, because it's definitely not hitting the spine of that thing to get it to flatten out, and figuring out how to do that without destroying the thing you want as a spine, and then chiseling for an eternity is also a good lesson to learn.
So yeah, it's good hand practice. It's nice. I've taken one of these, and instead of making a hook, I made a little incense holder, which is nice. Like, just imagine this is a tube instead of a... And that made a really easy present for my friend. It's like, look, it's... Yeah, a lot of the things with blacksmithing, they look like they'd be challenging. Like, let's say the flower, for instance. But then when you go out to do it, you're just like, oh, you know, it's just like just a few simple steps. I just have to, like, steady hand, good practice, like that. Or, she also has a hidden knife here. So, other good beginner projects, making blade tips, which is good. This is cool because you'll learn how to stretch the metal. Like when you hit it on one side, it expands and it wants to bend the other way. So it gives you good practice in being able to estimate how much do I need to budget for when I start, or set myself up for like something like here where you're pushing it down because you know it's gonna swoop back up again. Yeah.
So one more slide.
Go for it. And then other resources. So if you're other resources to look into, these are 3 really good YouTubers that have great videos. Alex Steele is not actually that great of a blacksmith, but he's really entertaining. So he has a lot of value there. I think I saw him mess up a sword, throw it into a lake once, and then fish in after it. I was like, yeah, I'll watch this video. This is pretty fun. But these guys are good. They'll take you through step by step, give you good beginner projects, and then you have resources like these are priceless. These books are great. They're only $10 a piece. If you follow, like let's say you start, I think the first one's this one, it'll start you out with, you have these books.
Yes.
It'll start you
And the
out
library
with
has it too.
different little projects you can do, walk you through them. And if you just follow that from page 1 to 0, I mean, you're not watching someone do it, but there's plenty in here to become really proficient, and they're pretty small, like so. It's not very intimidating, I guess, just to use these. And I didn't mention earlier, but I would before I forget, if you see a class for blacksmithing that's like, make something out of like a horseshoe or a railroad spike, and it's a class that's like, seems unreasonably cheap. It's like $50 or like, those tend to be good to try just to get, but if they're more for trying it out than they are for getting, if you take a baking class and they started you with, here's the box mix, go make the cake, instead of go mix the batter for the cake. So there's value in that too, but maybe just keeping in mind, because I guess I do like, you go out and you talk to people and they say like, oh, I did blacksmithing. Like I made this little like thing in a class that was like super cheap, and there's like arguments about that too, I guess, within the teaching circles, because they're like, you guys probably just started blacksmithing, you've been doing it less than 5 years, and you're teaching classes and giving people unrealistic expectations, and you're cutting out from our business, and we've been doing it for decades. Like, there's something to be said in that, but also I think it's fair to, you can give people options to try it without, like, just hit something hot, like, see if you like it.
That's the thing you do, yeah.
Yes, what's your question?
I'm trying to, my eyes. What's the name? Is it Coursera? Are the people who write the books?
Yeah, that's actually, yeah, that's Coursera. Thank you. You're welcome. Any question? Or did you have anything left?
Do I have questions?
Did you have anything?
No, I'm fine. No, you covered everything.
What did you do with 100 J-hooks?
I gave them out to people that I work with at the office and got a reputation. They were like, she's the cool. I came with a big basket. I was like, you get a hook. And not like that, but.
Jesus, 100 people on e-hooks.
I can go out and see them all on the cubicles, like lined up. I'm like, yes, we did this.
Yeah.
Oh, true. What was your question?
He had mentioned it earlier, but he asked about like where you source the metal, like how would you get, like where would you get metal, basically?
That's a really good question. If you know someone like our teacher Dale who can buy it in like bulk, I would suggest doing it that way, because shipping cost sometimes is more expensive than the metal you're buying, especially if you're buying from mill place like steel mills. They will sell it to you in giant lengths and they won't really cut it down for you. So when they bring it to your house, they freight it and they also charge you a bunch for shipping. So if you have someone like that, you can do that, or you can go to the steel mills themselves. Done that a couple times. Then you cut out the shipping all entirely and you can just walk around and see exactly what you need. Sorry, it sounded like you were saying something.
I think, what have I done before? I'll go to Online Metals, where the shipping is ridiculous. The steel costs less than the shipping half the time. But if you just need something and don't know where to go, you can go to the Online Metals thing, and they'll send you things like hex rods and stuff like that you can play with. So that's nice.
You mentioned going directly to the steel mill. Is there one in Virginia or the DMV area?
Yeah, I think B&G Metals is good. There was another, I could probably Google it, but I feel weird bringing out my phone. Like, I'll take it. If you look up steel metal suppliers in your area, they should pop up. B&G is a big one. And then there's do you know the name of the second one that Ken and...
No, what's the one that the Nova Labs will do a metal order sometimes? I don't remember what that one is called because the metal shop does it. But we usually just tell them to get us stuff or steal their stuff when they get it.
If you have someone who's buying it a bunch, you can just be like, here, I'll pay you $10 for this. And then just run away. And yes.
So, to follow on Jeff's question, so before I did anything with any of the Nova Labs people, I got my steel from just a place nearby me, which is a little bit south of Virginia called the Mini Steels. But I found them by going to welding shops in the area and looking at where they source their steel from. And it's a really good place to get sheet steel and stuff like that. Not so much the thicker stock, so it's better if you're making armor or something. But some of the other stuff too. Kind of depends what you're looking for. If you can go there and actually ask them for scraps and leftovers, and they give you a heavily discounted rate for those. So don't be afraid to ask for that kind of stuff. Like for me, they tend to just sell to people making fireplaces and whatever, so they want really prestige sheets. So things that were banged up or dented or just some rust on or something, you can get steep discounts for that. And if you're going to put it over the fire and you're going to hit it with the hammer a bunch, you don't care about any of that. So take the discount. A piece of that you get.
Perfect. Oh, and Potomac Steel. Sorry, I did the list. Potomac Steel.
Can you see her?
What was your question?
Oh, okay. It was you.
Sorry. Is there anything we should watch out for in terms of scraps or things like that? Because I know I always see on like Facebook Marketplace or things, people have like junky old stuff that they're trying to get rid of. Is there something we should look at to avoid or?
If you forge galvanized steel and you breathe the fumes, you'll die.
That's one of them.
So don't do that.
Yeah, if you're on Facebook, I would just watch out for misrepresentation.
Yeah. Stay away from stainless steel unless you know how to treat it.
Because it'll never get back to stainless
no.
steel otherwise.
Yeah, and galvanized steel is bad. So the big
Yeah.
pieces of rebar that you'll find, like the really thick ones, those are usually galvanized in some way. And then, what else is that other thing? If someone is selling a wrought iron, chip the paint off of it and make sure it's not like plastic or just like some kind of, lead or like aluminum.
Cast iron doesn't forge. You can't forge cast iron. It'll just melt and just fall right off.
It's very sad.
You'll hit it and it'll just explode. Like pancake batter. And I just,
Should they avoid powder coated metal?
I think powder coated's okay.
Because it depends on what the powder is made of.
Yeah, I should.
Magic.
Magic.
Magic will kill you too.
The person in the very back,
No.
used your hand earlier.
Hey,
Yes.
so this is going to be kind of weird. Why are anvils shaped the way they are? That makes sense to me. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a great question. Like, it depends. There's different shaped anvils. Japanese anvils are like blocks. I think because their blacksmithing's relatively young compared to Europe's blacksmithing. And they make a lot of swords. German style is personal favorite because you want let's say you have that classic comb part, use that to round things over, or if you need to make a hole bigger. The English style is flat on the back, so it looks more like those anvils you might have seen in like a cartoon dropped on someone's head. Those are good. Those are okay. The German's nice. Those will put another kind of point on this side. So you have like 2 points, one's flat, one's round, and you can use that how you will. The anvil shape's just like trying to give you as many curves and edges possible for you to be able to bend the metal how you want.
Yeah.
And then there's the hardy hole in the middle, which is what you put tools in. If you want to use like a guillotine tool, or I guess there's like a bunch of different things you can put in there.
So the whole thing is surfaces to be used to manipulate the metal. It's not just the flat top.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you're trying to like make a die essentially, and you're trying to find different shapes to make the other shape you want from hitting these two dies together. So.
Right, thank you.
Yeah.
I wanted to add on to the whole thing. I don't know if this is valid or not. I'm not a blacksmith, but I've seen people put like a hot rod in there and bend it that way to like make a right angle, just like a quick right angle. But I don't know if that's valid.
Oh yeah, totally good. To upset the ends of my metal, sometimes I'll just heat up the end and I'll start like throwing
Slam it
it on the concrete. So I feel like as long as it does what you want to, I feel like it's all valid. But someone else might say differently.
If someone else says differently, unless you're doing something that's going to hurt you, I tell them to just like piss off. Because if you use the tools in a safe way, in however you can figure out a way to use them, that's what they're there for. Yeah. Yep.
Swing it around.
I did actually have a question.
Yeah.
This could probably do with the research, but I'll let you know offhand. Is there any like really good way to just like quickly tell if something's galvanized or not?
If someone's saying,
If metal is galvanized or not?
I think it's extra shiny or feels like it looks too clean.
Yeah.
You can typically tell if you look at the surface. A lot of times you'll see sort of these like discolored patches where it's kind of like a crystalline structure from the zinc that's on the surface. That's kind of a telltale. Look at telephone poles, right? You know they have that kind of texture to them. You mentioned rebars, like that kind of. Rebar tends not to be galvanized, and it's like usually inside concrete. Okay, but look at telephone poles that have that kind of like cross-hatched kind of texture.
He's right.
That's galvanized. Look at chain link fences; those are galvanized. You can actually kind of smell them.
Little tops, yeah.
Almost like that chalk. Yeah, they have that kind of texture to them. That's galvanized. That makes sense. And if you do, burn a little bit of it, it turns white. Don't smell the smoke, it doesn't have your lungs. But
It's a quick way to find out. Well,
Yeah, it sets in like seconds, I think, till everything just shuts down. Well, if you're breathing it fully, Dale. No, it's like pretty bad. I don't know. Like Dale had a friend who he knew what he was doing. He'd been doing this a long time. He was like, I'm going to take all this galvanized steel and I'll clean it off in the propane forge with the windows open. So it'll just blow it out the windows. And that was fine, but it cooked into the forge. So the next day he closed the windows and used it, and he did die. So he did die.
because the fumes from the thing, came back at you. But you just, look
Maybe
for
if you have a
steel and
huge
don't use
fan.
if it's shiny and looks like it's, just be like, I don't need that. Actually.
You want to talk about propane versus coal?
Do you want us to be here for an hour and a half?
5 more minutes.
You can do a SparkNotes version.
Go for it.
Propane versus coal. Propane, even heat on larger pieces, much better for blades. Coal is good for artistic because much hotter heat in very specific points. And it's hot enough that you can start welding steel together on itself. You do forge welding because it starts to liquefy the metal, but it will also burn your metal, which means it kind of looks like coral and it feels really brittle. Like you can just snap it in half because there's all these holes in it now. So like if you want more relaxed forging, you can do the propane, put it in there, have a 30-minute conversation, and it's still there. The coal will not be there. You'll come back and it'll look like little fireworks, and you can do like a dance party.
It's great. You don't feel like dancing generally afterwards. But, sure.
The amount of times I distracted someone with a video like, look how cool this is, and then they turn back to their coal forge and it's melted.
That's 8 hours of work that's gone.
I'm so sorry. I think, yes.
Do y'all have any experience making plate art?
I don't.
I don't.
Yeah.
But he does. A little bit.
What style specifically?
I'm sorry.
What style?
I guess the only one that I did that was actually like a style was kind of I think it was a 16th or 17th century kind of plate armor. I do them mostly based off the characters from video games, so they're not that like historically accurate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, more or less.
I guess probably would be like, was this like for you yourself? Like,
Yeah, this was for me.
Measurements and then begin shaping the metal to fit your measurements.
Okay, so that's a challenging thing to do to try to get it to fit you properly. I made like cardstock templates and tried them on around my arms and everything. Definitely a lot of trial and error, specifically for how to get them, like to figure out how much metal will stretch when you're like dishing out a helmet or something like that. You get a feel for it eventually, but yeah, my first one just it lives on a shelf because I wouldn't wear it because it's like, well, that stretch way more than I thought. So I need to start with a smaller, bigger piece, basically. Stuff like that. When I started doing like blacksmithing armor stuff, I didn't know anyone from the lab or anything like that, so I was doing it out of my garage based solely off of things I watched on YouTube and people I talked to who have done it. So super trial and error about that. And definitely when I started, the first bunch of things I did was I had to make tools for myself. So a lot of tool making was the first part. I go to Harbor Freight and I buy, they have those really thick pry bars. I buy a couple of those and I take an angle grinder and I grind it down to like the different profiles that I wanted. And then you just clamp those in a vise and you hang over those. If you do that, you have to make sure you get a good vise because a lot of vices are cast iron, which is brittle, and those will crack if you hang on them a lot. That's why a lot of the blacksmithing vices that they use they're called standing vices because the jaw reaches all the way down to the floor. And so you put that on concrete or on wood or something, you hammer into it and have your force rather than all going into the jaw. or you can get the forged steel vices, which are made of carbon, tool steel basically. Way stronger than cast iron, and they aren't going to crack. Plus, they're way more expensive. I think I paid like $300 for mine or something like that. Whereas a vice of that size and cast iron would probably like 50. So that did get expensive, but it did a lot of good for me. I made a ball out of a shot put that I welded to a steel rod, and I just put that in the vice, did a lot of hammering over that to make dishing shapes, things like that. That was kind of the process. Just trying it out. I went from having done no plate armor whatsoever to having my first full plate done in about 9 months or so. So, take it or leave it, depends how much work you do, like on your own time.
9 months done. It sounds like a good time.
It was a learning experience for sure.
How much budget?
The articulation was going to be.
The articulation, so the particular set that I'm talking about, I have an articulated elbow, I have a couple of plates that have, like some sliding rivets, so the whole thing would rotate around the axis where your elbow is. And then the helmet had a handful of plates that slid up and down, so you could open it, or you could take out the jaw, you close it all up and it collapses, and then there's a hook that you just latch it shut so nobody can open. That kind of stuff.
I think we have time for one more question. Anyone have one? Yes.
I'm just wondering, have you worked with any other kind of metal like iron or like brass or something like that? What will be the difference between working with that and steel?
Oh, yes. Steel, worked with brass. Brass is very finicky. It burns really quickly and has a smaller range of temperatures that you can actually work it in, so you're moving it in and out a lot. I know you can forge other ones. I haven't tried them, but people we know have worked with like copper sometimes, never iron. I think that's it. And then after that, it's like you just have a lot of different grades of steel. So there'll be higher and lower carbon points, and they'll behave a little bit differently. But more important than that, I guess your end product ends up being much different. Like for tools, high carbon steel. For anything else, soft, like low carbon, because you don't need it to get nice and hard. Yeah.
Yeah, so I looked at that. It's like, what grade of steel do you think would be computer friendly, or does that not really thing?
If you're just practicing, you're not making blades. I say 1080A steel is good.
I like anything labeled mild steel. So
Anything labeled mild steel, actually.
Because then you can't harden it by accident and then shatter it.
All right, well, that is it because it is time. Thank you all for coming out.